The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of the monitor beside my daughter's bed. I sat beside her, holding her tiny hand between both of mine. "Lily," I whispered, "Daddy's here." She didn't answer. Her eyes remained closed. The oxygen machine beside her bed released a steady hiss. Every few seconds, I looked at the monitor just to make sure the numbers were still moving. My daughter was 8 years old, and she was dying. 3 months earlier, Lily had been running through our backyard chasing bubbles. She had laughed so loudly that our neighbors complained. Now she barely had the strength to lift her head. Her illness had changed everything. The doctors had tried treatments. Some worked briefly, others didn't. The bills kept arriving. I had sold my car, then my motorcycle, then most of the furniture in my apartment. Finally, I took a contract job in another city because it paid nearly 3 times what I could make locally. Leaving Lily was the hardest decision of my life, but I believed I was doing it for her. Before I left, I called my mother. "Mom, I'm trusting you." She hugged me. "Don't worry. We'll take care of Lily." My younger brother Jason stood beside her. "Send the money to Mom's account. We'll make sure every dollar goes toward Lily's treatment." I believed them, because they were my family. For the next 2 months, I worked 16-hour days. I slept in a cheap room above a restaurant. Every Friday, I transferred money home. $2,500. Then $3,000. Then $4,000. Every time, I wrote, "For Lily's treatment." My mother always replied, "Don't worry, we're handling everything." I never questioned her. Until the hospital called me. It was 2:13 on a Tuesday morning. I was asleep when my phone rang. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes." "This is St. Mary's Hospital." My heart immediately stopped. "Is Lily okay?" There was a pause. "We need you to come home." "Why?" "The payment account associated with her treatment has been depleted." I sat upright. "What?" "The balance is 0. "That's impossible. You've been sending money, haven't you?" "Every week." The woman sounded uncomfortable. "Mr. Carter, we haven't received those payments." I couldn't speak. "What do you mean?" "The last payment from your family account was nearly 6 weeks ago." My hands began shaking. "I've sent thousands of dollars." "To whom?" "My mother." Silence. Then the hospital representative said, "You need to come back immediately." I booked the earliest flight. During the entire trip, I called my mother. No answer. "Jason." No answer. Again. Nothing. When I finally landed, I went straight to the hospital. The first thing I saw was Lily. She looked smaller. Much smaller. I rushed to her bedside. "Daddy's here." Her eyes slowly opened. "Dad." I broke down. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She reached weakly for my hand. "I knew you'd come." I kissed her forehead. "Of course." She whispered. "Grandma said you were busy." My chest tightened. "Who told you that?" "Grandma." "What else did she say?" Lily looked confused. "She said you didn't have enough money." I stared at her. "I've been sending money." She nodded. "She said you weren't." Something inside me broke. I stepped into the hallway. A nurse approached me. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes." "We've been trying to reach your family." "Why?" "Because Lily missed 2 critical treatment payments. Her medication was delayed." I stared at her. "For how long?" "Almost 3 weeks." My stomach turned. Why didn't anyone call me? "We called the number on file." "My mother's number?" "Yes." "She never told me." The nurse lowered her voice. "There's something else." "What?" "Someone recently changed the emergency contact and billing information." "Who?" "We're still investigating." I immediately asked for the billing records. The hospital administrator printed them. I stared at the pages. My transfers were clearly documented in my bank statements. But the hospital had received almost none of them. I pulled out my phone. My banking app showed something I had never noticed. Every transfer had gone into my mother's account. But within hours, the money had been moved elsewhere. Thousands of dollars at a time. Restaurants. Luxury clothing stores. Hotel bookings. A jewelry shop. A resort. I stared at the screen in disbelief. My mother hadn't been paying for Lily's treatment. She had been spending the money. I called her again. This time she answered. "Where are you?" I could barely control my voice. "At the hospital." She sighed. "Oh, why didn't you tell me Lily's payments were overdue?" Silence. "Mom, I was going to. When? I've been overwhelmed. You've been spending the money." Another silence. Then she became defensive. "How dare you accuse me? I have the bank records." "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." Jason suddenly came onto the call. "Don't talk to Mom like that." I laughed bitterly. You helped her. That money was for Lily. You both knew. Jason shouted. We needed it. I froze. What? We had debts. So you stole your niece's treatment money? It's not stealing. It's family. Those 3 words made me feel sick. Family doesn't let an 8-year-old miss life-saving treatment. My mother began crying. We were going to replace it. When we thought you'd send more. I closed my eyes. I had nothing left to say. Then the hospital monitor alarm sounded behind me. I turned. Nurses rushed into Lily's room. Her heart rate had dropped. Lily. I ran inside. The doctors moved me away from the bed. Sir, please step back. I stood against the wall helplessly as the medical team worked. All I could think about was the money. The money I had earned through sleepless nights. The money I had sent because I trusted my family. The money that could have paid for Lily's treatment. When the doctors finally stabilized her, I returned to her bedside. She was unconscious. I kissed her hand. I'm here. Then I noticed something beneath her pillow. A folded piece of paper. I opened it. It was a drawing Lily had made weeks earlier. 3 people stood beneath a giant yellow sun. Me, her, and my mother. But someone had been crossed out. My mother's figure had been covered in black ink. At the bottom, Lily had written, Daddy, Grandma says you're sending money, but I never see it. My heart shattered. She had known. She had been afraid to tell me. I folded the paper carefully. Then I walked out of the hospital room. This time, I didn't call my mother. I called the police. The officer arrived less than an hour later. I handed him the bank statements, the hospital records, the messages, and Lily's drawing. He looked through everything carefully. Then he asked one question. Mr. Carter, do you want to press charges? I looked through the glass window at my daughter. Her tiny body lay beneath the white hospital blanket. I thought about every night I'd worked away from her, every dollar I'd sent, every promise my family had made. Then I answered, yes. The officer closed the folder. Then we're going to need to talk about where the money went. I nodded. But neither of us knew that the bank records were about to reveal something even worse. Because my mother and brother hadn't spent all the money themselves. A large portion had been transferred to an account belonging to someone else. Someone whose name I recognized. And when the detective saw it, his expression changed completely. Mr. Carter, do you know this person? I looked at the name. My blood ran cold. It belonged to the doctor who had originally told me Lily's treatment was too expensive. The same doctor who had recommended that I take the overseas contract. The same doctor who had insisted that I trust my family with the payments. Suddenly, this wasn't just a story about stolen money. Someone had been planning this from the beginning. The detective stared at the bank statement for several seconds. Then he looked at me. Mr. Carter, I need you to stay calm. Why? He pointed to a series of transfers. This isn't just money your family spent. I leaned closer. The payments had been divided into small amounts and sent to several accounts. Restaurants, hotels, online purchases. But one account appeared repeatedly. The name belonged to Dr. Marcus Hale, the same doctor who had treated Lily. My stomach turned. Are you saying my doctor was involved? I'm saying we need to investigate. That night, detectives obtained records from the bank. What they found was worse than I imagined. My mother and brother had transferred more than $70,000 from the account. But almost $30,000 had gone directly to Dr. Hale. There were no medical invoices attached. No treatment records. No legitimate explanation. The detective looked at me. Did you authorize these payments? Absolutely not. Did anyone else have permission? My mother. But the account was supposed to be exclusively for your daughter's medical expenses. Yes. The detective nodded. Then we have a serious problem. I returned to Lily's room. She was awake. Dad. I sat beside her. I'm here. Are you angry? I forced a smile. A little. At Grandma. I hesitated. Yes. She looked down. I knew something was wrong. What do you mean? Grandma told me not to tell you. My heart broke. What did she say? She said if I told you about the medicine, you'd stop sending money. I closed my eyes. Why would she say that? I don't know. Then Lily whispered. She told me you were going to leave me. I felt tears fill my eyes. Never. She reached for my hand. I knew you wouldn't. I kissed her forehead. Never. Over the next several days, detectives interviewed everyone. My mother denied everything. She claimed she had borrowed the money. She said she planned to return it. Jason admitted spending some of it. But he insisted Dr. Hale had nothing to do with the arrangement. Then investigators discovered something hidden in my mother's email account. Months earlier, Dr. Hale had written, Keep Daniel away from the hospital until the next payment clears. Another message read, his daughter must remain dependent on treatment. The detective showed me the emails. I felt sick. What does that mean? It means we're investigating whether the treatment decisions themselves were manipulated. A second medical specialist reviewed Lily's records. His conclusion shocked everyone. Some of the treatments she had been receiving were unnecessary. Others had been delayed intentionally, and several medications had been changed without proper explanation. The goal wasn't to help Lily. It was to keep the medical bills coming. I couldn't believe it. They had turned my daughter's illness into a business. The investigation expanded. Bank records revealed payments from Dr. Hale to my mother, then payments from my mother to Jason, then cash withdrawals. It was a chain, a carefully designed chain. Everyone had a role. My mother controlled the money. Jason spent it. Dr. Hale controlled the medical information. And I was kept far away because I was the only person who might ask questions. But they made one mistake. They underestimated how much evidence a desperate father could find. 2 weeks later, police arrived at my mother's house. They seized computers, bank records, phones, documents. Jason was arrested first. My mother was arrested the following morning. Dr. Hale tried to leave the country. He was stopped at the airport. When the news broke, the story spread quickly. A father working thousands of miles away had sent his savings to keep his critically ill daughter alive. His family had stolen the money, and a doctor had allegedly helped conceal the scheme. But while the investigation continued, I had only one concern. Lily. She needed proper treatment. A new medical team took over her care. They reviewed every medication, every procedure, every test. For the first time in months, someone explained everything to me. And slowly, Lily began improving. One morning, she opened her eyes and smiled. Dad, yes. Can we go home? I laughed through tears. Not yet. But soon. She smiled. Can we get ice cream? Absolutely. The doctors eventually gave us better news. Her condition was still serious. But the new treatment was working. She had a chance. A real chance. Months later, my mother asked to see me. I almost refused. Then I agreed. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. She sat across from me in the prison visitation room. I'm sorry. I said nothing. I thought I could fix everything. You didn't fix anything. I was desperate. So was I. She began crying. I never meant for Lily to get worse. I looked at her. That's the part one can't understand. How could you spend money meant to keep your granddaughter alive? She covered her face. I made terrible choices. You didn't make one choice. You made hundreds. She lowered her hands. I know. I stood. I hope someday you understand what you took from us. What did I take? Trust. And time. Those don't come back. I left without hugging her. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. Because justice couldn't give me back the nights I'd spent believing my daughter was receiving care. It couldn't erase the fear in Lily's eyes. It couldn't undo the months stolen from us. But it gave us something important. A future. 1 year later, Lily walked across a stage at her school. She had recovered enough to return to class. She wore a blue dress. When her name was called, she looked into the audience. I stood and applauded until my hands hurt. Afterward, she ran toward me. Dad, I hugged her. You did it. She laughed. I told you I would. We sat together outside the school. She rested her head against my shoulder. Are you still going to work far away? No. I'm staying here. Good. She smiled. Then we're going to need more ice cream. I laughed. Deal. That evening, I deleted the old bank account. I opened a new one in Lily's name. Not because I didn't trust banks. Because I had learned something much more important. Love should never require blind trust. Family should never be an excuse for betrayal. And when someone asks you to sacrifice everything for the people you love, make sure the sacrifice is actually reaching the person who needs it. My family took money meant to save my daughter. They thought distance would keep me powerless. They were wrong. Because a parent who believes their child is in danger will cross any distance, question any story, and uncover any secret. And sometimes, the people standing closest to you are the ones you need to investigate first. Years later, Lily still remembered very little about the hospital. But she remembered one thing. The night I sat beside her bed and promised, never again will I let anyone decide whether you deserve to be protected. And I kept that promise. Every single day,